moment, please.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, NBC. Hello, NBC. This is KGU in Honolulu, Hawaii. We have witnessed this morning a severe bombing of Pearl Harbor by enemy planes, undoubtedly Japanese.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
When President Franklin Roosevelt addressed the nation, there was no television. His words came over the radio. During World War II, the government went on to employ a little-known group of Japanese Americans to make radio broadcasts to Japan, and those broadcasts played a strategic role in the Allied war effort.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone. Living in that zone were more than 100,000 persons of Japanese ancestry, 2/3 of them American citizens, 1/3 alien.
The government allowed a grace period, during which time Japanese Americans could voluntarily relocate away from military-sensitive areas. Such areas were often on the coasts and were classified as Zone A. Sam Masami Ono and his family were Japanese Americans living in San Francisco. At this time, his two children were Stanley, born in 1939, and Gary, born in 1940. Sam Ono was a salesman of Japanese products in a San Francisco import-export company. It was in Zone A, so needless to say, his job ended abruptly. His own and extended family moved inland. Mrs. Sam Ono remembered the family moved to her father's farm in Cortez, California, which was in Zone B. The family believed this would keep them from being uprooted from California.
Our government was faced with the necessity of building up its own information bureaucracy. It eventually became the Office of War Information.
The OWI would be in charge of all propaganda against Japan, against Germany, against the enemy nations. There were also propaganda plans for the neutrals.
There was a call for people who might want to test the CBS monitoring program, which was located behind the Palace Hotel. And they asked us how much Japanese we knew, and I said, really, it's what I've learned through my grandmother and my mother and UC Berkeley, where I learned the translation.
A buddy of mine heard about a job opening with the government down at the Palace Hotel, and I had gone with him for moral support, and the interviewer said, "Why don't you try?" So I did. And I put on the earphones, monitored some Japanese broadcasts from Japan, and piped what I heard in English as I sat listening. I got the job.
I did the translation exam. So accidentally I got into the civil service. That's how I got into coordinator of information at the time they call it. And later it turned out to be Officer of War Information.
Up and down the West Coast, racism and reprisal mounted, culminating in the evacuation of all Japanese, including those in Zone B. The Sam Ono family was put into an assembly center, along with thousands of others. They were held there, while more permanent concentration camps were being built. Months later, all were taken by train to a War Relocation Authority concentration camp. It was located near Granada, Colorado, and was named Amachi.
While San Francisco continued to serve as headquarters from which many of these radio broadcasts were transmitted, the people reading the news and providing translations couldn't continue to reside on the West Coast if they were of Japanese ancestry.